Are the scariest cartoon predictions ever made, and the last one will shock you, so make sure you stick around. First, in 2014, The Simpsons made an episode where Homer was contacted by FIFA to step in as a referee for the World Cup because everybody else was corrupt. Homer, of course, takes the job and is then offered countless bribes while refereeing for the World Cup in Brazil to influence the outcomes of the games. Well, just a year later, it was discovered that FIFA was massively corrupt, and it all had to do with officials taking bribes from teams to influence the games. But it gets crazier because in the same episode, Germany ended up winning the World Cup just like they did in real life a year later. Next, in a Futurama episode called The Lesser of Two Evils, there's a Miss Parallel Universe pageant that takes place with contestants from different planets. Well, the host accidentally announces the wrong winner by calling Leela's name and then quickly correcting it by taking the tiara off of her in front of everybody. Well, 15 years later, when we had a Miss Universe pageant that was hosted by Steve Harvey, he accidentally announced the wrong winner. He announced Miss Colombia as the winner but realized his mistake and then corrected it to Miss Philippines, taking the tiara off of her right on stage and giving it to the real winner, which would be incredibly embarrassing. Another thing that would be embarrassing is finding out one of your favorite creators blocked you on TikTok. And you can find out if you're blocked by clicking share, going to the very end, then clicking more, and then click block. If you don't see anything, then nobody is blocked you. Next, in the episode Medicinal Fried Chicken of South Park, all of the KFC locations in Colorado get shut down. So Cartman ended up sourcing the food himself and selling it on the black market. Well, in 2018 in the UK, around 3/4 of the KFC locations didn't receive their shipment of fried chicken, so some people saw it as an opportunity and decided to sell KFC menu items on eBay and listed them at prices like this. Now, this one is hopefully a joke because that's around $30,000, but other listings sold menu items at around $100, which just isn't worth it.
Woody Harrelson is trying to tell us something.
Got into the habit of buying junk fast foods that have no actual food in them. We buy gallons of poisonous household cleaners when one degradable soft soap will do. We are poisoning our homes and wasting our hard-earned money for no good reason. Why? They just want you to buy stuff. If you don't want food with chemicals or GMOs in it, then don't buy it. The minute we start taking responsibility and spending our money wisely, every politician, every corporation, and leader around the world is going to know that we have woken up. The last people I would trust with my health is big pharma and big government, because neither one of those strike me as caring entities. They're all about profit. Exactly. They're all about profit. And what does the government actually do to help? When a superpower with all this military might attacks, just unprovoked, attacks, like you know, Iraq, Korea, no, sorry, Ukraine. Terrible. You lure them in with humor, then you make them think. The biggest drug cartels in the world get together and buy up all the media and all the politicians and force all the people in the world to stay locked in their homes, and people can only come out if they take the cartel's drugs and keep taking them over and over. I threw the script away. I mean, who is gonna believe that crazy idea? Being forced to do drugs? I do that voluntarily all day long.
By the way, this video is scripted and for entertainment purposes only. Stay weird.
Okay, so here I am out here in September, and as you can see, there's obviously a really very clear planet that is right north of the sun. And wow, I would love to say it was the moon, but since the moon happens to be right here on the opposite side, there's no way it is. And since we all have been taught in school that Mercury and Venus do not show up, oh, just look at that planet just beaming and shining right now. Somebody tell me what it is. Thank you.
Do not fall for this. Watch closely.
I'm telling you, I'm getting the f*** off, and there's a reason why I'm getting the f*** off, and everyone
Watch your hands.
believe it or they cannot believe it.
That is a satanic hand symbol, and it comes from the Baphomet. This woman is a paid actor. When they do things like this, they have to slip a little bit of truth in there, like this satanic hand symbol. The Bible says, which ye have spoken in the ear in the closets shall be proclaimed upon the housetops. In other words, whatever they speak about in secret must be shouted from the rooftops. And this entire thing is part of an agenda to condition you to believe that there's aliens. This is because they are planning a fake alien invasion to fool the masses. They are working closely with demons and Satan, because aliens are nothing more than demons. Look what it says here in Zechariah. Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said the length of it is 20 cubits. That's like 30 feet long. And look what it says here. This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. So we know UFOs are a curse. And look what it says here. He was asking what he saw. He said, what is it? And he said, this is an ephah that goeth forth. This is an ephah. Looks pretty familiar, doesn't it? And look, this is talking about the UFO. And he said, this is wickedness. And they lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heaven. Genesis 1:8, God called the firmament heaven, which means they are flying these things around just in our atmosphere. Not from outer space, that's fake. Aliens are demons. Do not fall for this when it comes. I got a lot more to say about this topic. If y'all want a part 2 on this, like and follow, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
What's your thoughts?
I'm here at Krusty Burger for the launch of the highly anticipated Burger Squared. Krusty, what can you tell us about this fantastic new sandwich?
I'm glad you asked, Kent. We start with grade A beef, feed that to other cows, then kill them and serve the unholy results on a 7-grain bun. Burger Squared!
Math checks out.
Cows eating cows? That's an abomination.
No, Lisa, you're a vegetarian, but these cows have made a different choice.
And now this lucky reporter will be the first human to sample this delicious crime against nature. Juicy, flavorful, with just a hint of...
Hey, that's my check-cashing arm, you stupid!
Do you believe in time travel? At 11:25 p.m. on June 15, 1950, visitors in Times Square, New York, noticed a peculiar man around 30 years old, dressed in an odd outfit believed to be popular during the reign of Queen Victoria nearly 100 years prior. He seemed extremely confused, like a lost person, constantly staring at the bustling cars passing by. Suddenly, a large car rushed towards him, causing his immediate death. Upon examination, investigators found a series of unusual and bizarre items on this man, including a letter sent to Philadelphia in 1876, 70 old dollars that had been discontinued, and a personal business card with the name Rudolph Fentz. The most puzzling thing was that all these items were very new and showed no signs of decay, even though they were at least 80 years old. After searching through missing persons records, the police finally found the daughter of Rudolph Fentz, who was then 80 years old. She recounted that in 1876, her father, then only 29 years old, mysteriously disappeared while on his way to mail a letter. Afterwards, all investigators were stunned into silence upon learning that every description from age and appearance to clothing of her father completely matched with that peculiar man.
What happens in the dark must come to the light. What you know about the petrified forest in Arizona? Oh my days. So check it. They're saying what caused the petrified forest is that it grew over 200 million years ago near waterways. During floods, water forced the trees to be pulled up from the ground. Over time, the wood from the trees became petrified. So let's take a closer look. Have you ever seen anything like that in your life? That looks more than petrified. That looks crystallized or turned into some type of marble. So let me ask you a question. If this has been naturally petrified, who cooked the wood which has been turned into stone into small pieces. And you know what's funny? Everybody's looking in the front, but nobody's looking in the background at the giant tree stumps. Now I want you to compare these pictures. This is Arizona, and this is a mining site. Arizona, this is a mining site. And again, Arizona, and again, this is a mining site. So basically what I'm trying to say is sometime in the past, somebody cut down these trees with advanced technology, which we do not understand, and was mining for resources. The question is, who?
When we start discussing Antarctica, a barren ice land with solid evidence of the conditions on planet Earth millions of years ago, which would give scientists a lot of data on what the planet actually was like in the past, how much oxygen actually was available on the planet, what the pressures were like, how would extra oxygen and pressures actually help. And you get into the discussion of hyperbaric chambers. In the past, with some of these theories about the extra oxygen, this is why dinosaurs' nostril size was so small. Didn't need to work as hard to breathe in more oxygen to get what they needed for their bodies, and everything back in this time allegedly grew much greater in size.
The moment that this guy starts talking about the gospel on live television, they cut him. Watch this.
The issue is sin. It makes us, our sin that's in us makes us do those things. And the only salvation for this sin is the gospel. The only way to really cure that what's on the inside is understanding that Jesus Christ died for our sins. And so to me, on a micro level, it's understanding.
Yep, and just like that, we lost him.
It's a big coincidence. If you're not ashamed of Jesus though, then like, comment, and subscribe.
This phone call proved that aliens are among us. On September 11th, 1997, during an open caller segment on Coast to Coast AM, then host Art Bell received a strange call from a man who claimed to have worked at Area 51. The caller became more and more frantic, saying that they'll triangulate his position shortly, and just as he's about to reveal what's really going on, the satellite connection is severed, kicking Coast to Coast off the air. Here's a segment from that very call.
Okay, what we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Now, Art and his production crew frantically rerouted to a backup system to get back up and running, and in all the years he had been hosting the show, up until that point, something like this had never happened. However, a year after the original call was made, a comedian named Brian Glass called into Coast to Coast claiming to be the Area 51 caller, but he had no idea that what he was saying would cut the satellite feed. It's still debated whether or not Brian was actually the caller, and because of this, many people still believe that
I could make a sperm out of your skin cells and an egg and fertilize that. So you can clone me? I could clone you. I won't do that because it's illegal, but biologically we could do that. So I can make organs, mini organs from you and test drugs. And what we're doing in the lab is we have personalized medicine. So when you come to my lab, and you have to promise you're going to come, I'll show you, we grow these mini brains in the lab. And we've got them from people that are predisposed to Alzheimer's or not. And we have a way to age those brains so that they're now 80 years old, even though they're only a few months old. And they lose their ability to fire electrically. They become demented in the dish, little mini brains. And so we give them Alzheimer's and dementia in the dish. And then what we do is we have the system to turn on those 3 embryonic genes, OS and K. And those brains go back in age. But here's the cool thing. Alzheimer's goes away. They get the electrical activity comes back. Now we do this in a mouse. We make the mouse older, just let them age out, or we accelerate it. And we've been now reversing the age of those brains in mice. And you can guess what happens. They get their memory ability to learn back.
Unbelievable. Now think of the hubris of us saying this advanced civilization of aliens who can cross the gaps of space are interested in us and our gonads, and they want to paint circles in our crops. That's kind of weird, I would think.
Okay, I hate this argument.
I just think it's a little weird.
Tell you,
I don't think we're that interesting.
I think we're really fucking interesting. I think we can nuke the entire planet many times over, and yet we don't. We did it once in 1947. We bullshit each other constantly. We spew out propaganda We have this bizarre ritual where every 4 years we pick a leader based on a popularity contest.
Who you want to have beer with?
We're constantly involved in murder and rape and genocide all over the world. We choose what things to pay attention to, what not to pay attention to. We celebrate people who pretend to be heroes in films and television, and we barely know scientists who win Nobel Prizes. We're fucking fascinating. We're the weirdest things.
To whom?
If you were from another planet filled with things like us, like if there was another planet of us, and we found a planet doing the exact same kind of nonsense that we do somewhere else, we would be riveted.
What year is it, bro? Like, I'm not even, like, what year is it? So check it out. This is why I'm saying this. In the year 1582, when the calendars were changed from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, they skipped 10 days. So the calendar went from October 4th to October 15th. From a Thursday to a Friday when they changed that. They never compensated for those 10 days that they skipped. So the next year, the calendar was 365 days. So we're 20 days behind. The year after that, the calendar was 365 days. And we're not even including leap year. This is something that's been on my mind for the last, I'll say, a good 6 weeks. I've been thinking about it every day, doing the math every day. And I always get to this point that we are in the year 2011. We are truly in the year 2011 when you compensate every year since 1582, 10 days. Do the math, and then subtract that from the year that we're in, and you'll see what year we're truly in. And then when you look at other calendars that are around this year, the Ethiopian calendar is in this year. So, like, I think about it, I'm like, yo, this is part of their scheme, because they don't even want us to know what day it is. You know what I mean? They don't even want us to know what day it is. So easily, they've been changing the dates since 1582 when they never compensated for those 10 days that they just skipped. Bro, am I wrong? I'm saying this out loud because I'm to the point that I need help. Like, am I wrong? Why didn't they ever compensate for those 10 days? And if they didn't, does that mean that every year we are 10 days plus behind and they are 10 days ahead? You know what I mean? And then throughout 300 years, 400 years, almost 500 years, like, those 10 days become 13 years that we're ahead, 12, 13 years. That's crazy. Do the math. That's something that bothers me, though. It bothers me a lot.